So then, talent versus discipline. What really wins the race? Well, I suppose if they're looking at us, then they probably already thought they know the answer, because it can't be talent, really, can it?
Well, I'm actually surprised we're really live. So, talent versus discipline based on past experiences. No, it's a fascinating conversation, because I have that so many times with people in the business. They think you have to come to this with a certain skill set in advance. You have to really have the gift of the gab, have this, have that, all these things going for you to be successful. And you and I both know that ain't the case, because I definitely had none of that stuff going on at the start. But one thing I definitely did was always book for the big events. That doesn't require talent, it just requires a tiny bit of discipline. Every year to go. I mean, I'm booked for Power Up. I'm sure you are as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And for those that are watching this that are UW partners, if you haven't booked your Power Up ticket, then get it booked. It's on the portal. The link is on the partner portal. But yeah, absolutely. I mean, I all the way right from the start. So we're going to get into the subject in a minute, but all the way right from the start, I remember Jimmy Chapman, I think it was, just telling me, you've got to be there. You've got to be at these big events. And I didn't know why, but I knew he was doing pretty well in the business at that time. Even, he's doing even better now. So I just followed his guidance, and the successful people will all be there.
Absolutely. And, the company just hit 1 million customers. And one last bit, put the 7th of September in your diary. That's all we're going to say.
Yeah. Fair enough. So if you've booked already for the next big event, then just put yes in the comments so that we can see that we've got about 17 people joined us already. So just let us know you've booked in for that next big event if you're one of the existing UW partners. If you're not an existing UW partner and you're watching this and you're wondering what we're talking about, big events where we all get together and we get all sorts of exciting stuff, announcements, training, all that sort of stuff. So it's one of the key events in our year.
And the topic for today, I had a very simple conversation with somebody this morning. He's a young guy, just graduated, and he feels like he's lacking in certain areas. And I said to him, look, when I joined this business, I knew the person who joined, Juswant, who joined UW, who wanted to achieve X, Y, and Z and all these goals, was not the person that was going to get me there. And I was willing to do the work to become that person. Now, did I have some talent? Probably very little. Don't look at me like that. Right? You can just give me a little bit of credit. But it did require work, on a daily, weekly, monthly. I mean, it's going to be 17 years. I know we don't look old enough, but 17 years with UW coming up this year. But, it required me and, a lot of other people who've become successful to actually apply themselves and do the work. And doing the work doesn't require talent. It requires discipline.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And, I don't want to take away from anybody that joins that's already got a skill set. They've already got,
absolutely.
If you've got a head start because you've done this type of business before, or because you've achieved success in other areas that learned some good people skills, all of those things are going to be helpful. But you described it when we were talking about this as the tortoise and the hare. And we have seen so many people join this business with so much potential and sometimes even fly out the stocks with a great start, and then a year later you're like, where's so-and-so gone? And they've gone off to do something different. But so that's not to say that you can't be successful if you come in with talent, but do you need it to be successful? No, it can help, but it's not going to be the key thing. In fact, I remember you saying some time ago now that you are consistently just above average. That's the difference.
1% above average. I reckon if anybody knows, especially people who've known me for a long time, I'm not, I'm not prolific customer gatherer. I'm not a prolific recruiter. What I am is I will learn something and I'm willing to relearn something and relearn something. I said to people before, they said, what's your secret of success in UW? I said, it's a couple of things. I'm 1% above average, and I am an imitator, not an innovator. So I find out those things that people are very good at doing, and I work out, okay, what are they doing? And is it something that I can achieve? Is it something I can imitate? Is it something that I can bring into my way of doing the business without me going off the rails? Because I know what happens is if you're, consistently getting results, and then you hear about person X or Y who's really talented at some particular part of UW, going and doing X, Y, and Z, and you try and implement what they do into your business, your results go like that because you're suddenly relearning something, and then you're like, oh my God, UW stopped working. UW hasn't stopped working. All it's done is you've tried to do something different, and you are now going to come back up to where you are before. And I've said to a lot of people, if what you're doing is working and you're disciplined and doing what you're doing on a regular basis, do you really need to change to do something that someone else might have a talent at doing?
That's really useful to think about as well, because we do have shiny object syndrome, where people are looking for something exciting to do, and that's okay. Innovations are okay. If you can see something that's working and you can build that in, great. But what people tend to do is they do that and then they don't do what was working. And for me, it's about consistently doing the basic fundamental things over and over and over and over again. And then if there's something else that you think might help, add that into the mix. Don't completely stop what you were doing that has been working for a long period of time. Give the new thing a try alongside what you're currently doing. And as you say, if it's not your niche, it's funny, I was reading Big Al and his son, Keith Schreiter. I was reading their book about goals earlier on today, and they were saying, it's Why Are My Goals Not Working was the book. They were saying, actually, if you're doing something and it's not working for you and it's not flying for you and you're not enjoying it, it's because it's not naturally fitting with how you do things. So you don't have to be going off and trying to copy Juswant's way of doing it because Juswant's really good at doing, I don't know, let's say you're really good at doing social media or something like that. You don't have to be doing that just because Juswant's doing it if that's not your thing. If your thing is you like to meet people for a coffee and sit and have a chat and show them the business and then sign them up that way, carry on doing that. That's absolutely fine.
And, to be honest, for a long time, that was my, before the remote tools came in, that was my number one way of either bringing in a partner or a customer, was meeting them for a coffee, having a chat with them, using that thing that we used to call form, finding out where they're from, what they do for a living, what's their reason for what they do for recreation. And naturally in the conversation, that person, you will ask them, what do you do? And they'll go, okay, hold on, what do you do? And I go, well, rather than me try to explain it to you, let me just show you, because we have the tablet. I just showed them the videos and stuff and like that, and say, great.
Yeah.
And it worked for me because for me, it was a system and a process. When I have a step-by-step process that I follow, and it works for me. I know that, okay, I go A, B, C, D, done. Right, and I just keep repeating. And it requires discipline not to add E, F, G in just because I feel like I have to. All I say is if it's not getting me the results right now, it's not because what I'm doing isn't working. It's because it's just happens to be a wrong group of people. I mean, like Monday, I felt a couple of days last week, I thought, oh my God, am I doing something wrong? And the next day I did the exact same thing and I got a result. It's like, hold on. Okay, so it wasn't what I was doing was wrong. It was just I wasn't speaking to the right person at the right time for them to be open to look at UW. The other two people weren't ready. So it wasn't the process was wrong. It was just the wrong timing.
Yeah. I think that discipline comes into this in so many forms. And one of them is being disciplined about continuing to do the process. But the other is about being disciplined to be consistent. And I found... So I have a coach, I work with my coach, and one of the things that I found really valuable is actually I send them a daily and a weekly update on what I've done activity-wise. And actually, I upload it to Dropbox so we share it, but I just literally send them a WhatsApp saying I've updated the stats so that they can go in at any point. Now, I know that my coach probably never looks at that more than once every 3 or 4 weeks when we're going to have a review of it, but every day I feel I'm accountable for doing it, and that's helped me to apply that consistency. Before I had that accountability, it doesn't have to be a business coach, it could be somebody in the business, it could be, you know, a friend, it could be somebody else that you want to buddy up with. But before I had that accountability partner, effectively, I wasn't as consistent, because if I didn't do something today, the only person I didn't do it for was me. Whereas I've found actually it's helped me to be more disciplined and consistent, to have somebody to be accountable to.
And it works for different people, you know, accountability partners. I mean, I remember when we were growing the business in the early days, part of my discipline on a weekly basis was to ring John up. John was the guy who introduced himself. My weekly discipline was to phone him up and give him an update, and that was it. And I made it my not for him to phone me up, because he was your sponsor and you're my sponsor. It wasn't my responsibility to phone it. It wasn't his responsibility to phone up and check on me. I put it on myself that I said to John, I am going to phone you every week. Is that okay? And he said yes. And I phoned him every week without fail for about 3 years, right? And it was a very simple phone call. Most of the time, the phone call was 5 minutes. And he would just, and he'd always give me one tip, one little tiny snippet. And I go, oh, yeah, I never thought about that. Or if I'd said this had happened to me, he goes, well, if you think about it that way instead of that way, I went, oh, yeah, that makes sense. But he never overloaded me with stuff. And that, like, I was gaining 1% each week as we were talking, and then speaking to yourself on a regular basis and talking about, we never spoke about anything other than how we were going to bring in more partners, how we were going to grow the team, and personal development. Right? Our conversations were based around those three things. I think we probably spoke about the customer proposition once every 100 days, and then we'd laugh and say, I'm sorry to bring this up, but can I just talk to you about it? Well, because we were focused on building a business. Yeah, we were focused on building a business, and how can we develop as a person to be the person that can lead the people that are coming in.
Absolutely. I just wanted, somebody's asked about form. I'm not going to go into it in a lot of detail, but there is, if you go onto the learning portal, you'll find there's a module on there still about it, or the Paula Pritchard CD, if you can get hold of a copy of it that she did. I'm trying to think of the name of it right now, it'll come to me. But form, it stands for family, occupation, recreation, and then message. So the first three are subjects that you ask open questions about, and then the message is, you know, you told me that you are about to be made redundant, that I can help you with that, and then arranging to get their details. That's the very, very short version of what form is about. Somebody else says, I kept talking to the wrong person, kept talking to the lady while the main decision maker is a partner, or vice versa. Definitely helps to be talking to the right person and not to assume, because what is it they say? You make an arse out of you and me.
But we're talking about discipline versus talent. I remember there was a guy in the team who every January he'd come flying out the blocks and he'd recruit about 10 people. He'd gather half a dozen customers, and then nothing for the last 11 months, right? Which is great. You think, oh, look at that. He's really up and running. He's fantastic. But then there was this lady in the team, and she just went and got a customer in January, 1 or 2 partners, a customer in February, 1 or 2, and consistently did that throughout the year. And I think for those people that are listening in, it is far easier to keep the ball rolling every month than it is to, because, picking up the phone, if you've not done it for a while, it is tough. I get those days when I haven't rang anybody all weekend. Mondays I always find a little bit wrong. But if I've been constantly doing this and it's just a habit and it's the thing that I want to do, that consistently enables me to keep moving forward. Whereas if you stop, take a big break, and then, okay, I'm going to get going again. I'm going to ring 20 people tomorrow because I'm going to launch my business. Guess what happens? 20 people is a lot of people. Maybe I'll do it the next day, or I'll do it the day after.
Even if you do speak to 20 people, like I did this. So going back 2 years now, the first 3 months of the year, I recruited 24 people in 3 months. I was so frenetic with recruiting people that I didn't know where the next person was coming from. I was just putting more and more people into the pipeline, and whatever the outcome was the outcome. Got to the end of March, I was burned out. I didn't do anything for about 2 months. And, I just about kept those, some of those people going. But what happens is if you're doing it in fits and starts, then when you don't keep in contact with the team consistently, you find all of a sudden your team have gone quiet. And then you come back to it when you're ready for your next burst of activity and you're firing everybody up and you're like, oh, where did everybody go? Because if you're not there, keeping it front of mind, just regularly, consistently doing it, you don't have to be 100 miles an hour, like 12 months of the year. You can be 80 miles or 60 miles an hour. You can be consistent for 12 months of the year, but and have bursts of activity within that gives you a bit of a push. But it's the consistency that will win, because that will keep your business going. And if you duplicate consistency, that's what will massively grow your business, and you'll see the results in your team.
Absolutely. Helping people understand what their goals are and why they're doing this business, and say, okay, you want to achieve this in, let's say, a 3-year, 5-year time frame. What do you need to do in the next annually over the next 3 to 5 years? What do you need to do monthly in the next 3 to 5 years? Then what do you need to do in each week in each of those months to achieve what you want to achieve? And then that goes, okay, I need to speak to 10 people a week or a month, whatever you want to say. That's where you can start thinking, okay, my consistency needs to be, I need to speak to 10 people over this time frame to order to achieve this in the next 90 days.
Mm-hmm.
Or I need to speak to 20 people in this time frame to achieve this in the next 90 days, the next 180 days. And I used to work on a 90-day rolling program for me. So whatever I wanted to achieve, I said, right, this is what I want to achieve in the next 90 days. And at the start of the month, I go, okay, what do I want to achieve in the next 90 days? And that enabled me to focus on what I needed to do without me thinking, oh my God, I've got all this to do over there. I'm just focusing on what's in front of me for the next 3 months. And then I focus on what's in front of me for the next 4 weeks. And then I focus on what's in front of me for this week. Yeah. So it's enabled me to, you got the big goal, and then you just chunk it down into smaller ones that enable you to achieve the big one. And now, that worked for me, and it helped me a lot, because focusing too much on that, sometimes I'm like, oh, maybe that's a bit too much. But doing this, and this, I can focus on that. I can do that. I can do that this week. I can do that this month.
I agree. I think, it's good to have the longer term vision. But then if you can now say, right, what can I do in the next few days that moves me towards that? What can I do today that's going to move me towards that? Then that allows you to see the impact of what you're doing. Because if you have a goal that is, right, I want to get to national network leader in the next 5 years, let's say, what you do today doesn't feel like it matters. What you feel like you do today, if you do loads of effort or you don't do any at all, it doesn't feel like it's going to make a difference to that 5-year goal. Whereas if you know that for the next 5 years, I consistently need to do these activities week by week, month by month, and you keep a track on it and you keep a check on how the progress is going. But if you know that you're doing that and you track it and you're accountable, whether it's to yourself or to an accountability buddy, you will find that you will be moving towards that, because you're doing the right behaviors and the right activity consistently. Juswant, we are coming up to 20 minutes. We've done 18 and a half minutes. Is there anything you wanted to make sure that you add on the end of this before we wrap?
No, I'm thinking fine. Let's do this slightly different. Let's say one question. We'll take one question in the comments. If somebody's got one question, I'm sure we've got a minute to answer it.
Please don't make it about kilowatt hours for Saturday night.
Stuart, wouldn't dare do that. But with a million customers,
question.
One burning question. We can take that. Look, people are saying they're loving the advice. It's true. Small amounts on a daily basis, which is great. If you got one particular thing you want us to cover, if not, we can sign off before 20 minutes is up. And it's a pleasure to do these. Somebody just put team culture. I don't know whether it's a question or it's a statement, but our team culture, the ones that we had, was building a business. We are a utility. We're not a utility business as network marketing. Our culture was, we're a network marketing business that does utilities. And this is a vehicle for you to achieve your goals and dreams through Utility Warehouse. That was our team culture. I don't know if you want to add to that.
I'd echo that. And once you decide what your culture is going to be, then you can build everything else around that. So, for instance, as you say, our culture has always been about building a big organization and helping people to build teams and recruit. So when it came to organizing an event, then the first thing we do is, right, okay, what do we want to achieve out of this? Well, we want to help people to build a big organization and to learn about recruiting. And so you then design the event around what the culture that you've got. Similarly, when there's an announcement, you know, some people will use that announcement to gather customers. We would use it as a way to build the team. You know, if there's a new holiday, who can you recruit that wants that sort of holiday? Who can you recruit that would like free holidays? Yeah, use the announcement or the initiative in order to build your organization. Juswant, thank you. We've now gone over 20 minutes. Really appreciate your time today. Really appreciate everybody being on here. If you're watching this on the live, thank you. If you're watching it on the replay, feel free to put replay down below, and we will see you soon.
Bye.
Bye.